discussing in this video cover some videos like Harris Heller's video on which platform to stream on. I believe the video is actually called it is called Twitch versus YouTube versus Mixer versus Facebook, in which he said Mixer streamers are afraid to call out Mixer because you don't want your platform to die. That is a direct quote from the video, and we'll be addressing that. And this is kind of the reason why we are addressing it now, because we're not afraid for the platform to die. And another video that we'll be covering in here is actually a VOD from Shroud's stream, where he shared that he doesn't know what the future for Mixer is. He doesn't know what the future plans are, because the plans were all very real life based, and convention and advertisement in real life that have been all kind of taken away from us by COVID. And that is another thing that we'll be discussing. That is pretty much all of the references that I have. Everything else is kind of discussions that we can get into as we answer the hot topics. And I'm sure that we'll be going back and forth between the stream elements and Arsenal statistics that Mixer has grown 0.2% in the last year. Or I believe they say the last year, but it's actually, when you look at the statistics, it's for March to April 2020. So first and foremost, I'm not 100% a believer of what that the statistic is correct, considering all the accounts that have been taken that were 24/7 accounts, which was a recent addition that they removed. So that would have affected the statistic perhaps, but what are your thoughts on the numbers? Do you think these numbers are real? Do you think they're somehow incorrect?
So, I saw a different report actually yesterday, which states that the March to April growth of Mixer was actually 14%.
And how did I come to that? What is the source of that?
Where was that report?
I don't 100% know. I did see a picture. So the year over year is what people are citing as 0.2, but March to April, I saw a different report that said March to April was 14%.
Like between March and between April
of this year, like because of
like
COVID,
a 1 month,
basically, like because of quarantine, the traffic of the platform went up by 14%, which I do feel like is a number that people aren't discussing.
Yeah, Mr. Noob Sniper in chat is saying that he'll find that report. I personally think that there are, from my perspective as a non-partner, as someone who has been observing the platform and is very passionate about numbers and analytics, I think there is a severe issue in the API itself and how numbers are being calculated, because they are inconsistent as fuck, basically. What are your thoughts on that?
So I don't know about severe issue, but I have heard, like, and none of this has been from any official source, so I don't know how true it is. I've just heard basically people who create programs that have tried to integrate with Mixer have said that the API is difficult compared to other places, and it's hard to get permission to pull information. I don't know if that can play into how reliable the numbers are or not, but I have heard that time and time again. So
interesting.
I don't know.
We have the statistics. Streaming is on the rise month over month. So the month over month statistic is that Mixer has grown 15% on the month over month.
Right.
So that means from March to April, the growth has been 15%, is what that statistic says. And it's from the exact same source as the 0.2%.
Yep. Yep.
It's just that it's a different...
So like year over year, Mixer grew 0.2, but from March to April, they grew 15%, which is actually just behind YouTube Gaming's 14%, or just ahead of, sorry. So like, I do feel like people aren't they're taking that 0.2%, and while it is worrying, they're taking it out of context.
Absolutely.
And you do see that month over month, all the platforms grew because of COVID, as expected with people being home.
Yep.
And as expected with all of this. You know, Twitch grew 50 to 48% is what they say. Industry growth was 45%, and Facebook gaming grew 72% during just March to April.
Yes.
But the 0.2% is the year over year.
Yep.
So,
and I think it is
I think
a little bit
misunderstanding.
It is definitely misunderstood, but you also have to keep in mind what happened in the past year on Mixer, which is all the removal of the Sparks farm, all the removal of the follow for follow, and 24/7 channels.
Mention that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's doubting that probably dropped the numbers on the platform quite significantly when those were pulled the plug on, because that was, I don't know if I'm correct in saying this, Kabby, but probably thousands of viewers.
Yeah, so there's a huge stigma when it comes to Mixer's reputation for previously having a lot of spark farms and stuff like that, based off of the initial idea to establish a lot of views through partnering with like Forza, for example, and Paladins and whatnot. Everybody knows, right? And especially after they really listened to the community and put the axe on that, that would definitely impact those numbers. And those numbers are all about how they're communicated on social. So if Streamlabs or Stream Elements releases a report, people will retweet that and then they'll put their own little flair to it, for example, right? And then that gets trending. And so there's a lot of misconstrued information. Growth is really growth no matter the platform. That's what's important. But in our case, because we're like one of the smallest platforms, those numbers don't compare to the other giants right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I wanted to discuss that is relevant to this is the initial idea for monetization of Sparks and how that was undoubtedly the worst decision that Mixer has made as a platform. Would you agree?
No.
All right.
Nope.
I want to hear.
I don't think it was the best decision they made, but I also don't think it's the worst decision they've ever made.
We're talking about like money when Sparks had a direct cash monetary gain.
I think that steps probably could have been taken to foresee that stuff like that could have been abused, but I think at the end of the day, there's also only so much that you can do to prevent a system like that from being abused. And I think we as partners knew that was never going to be sustainable forever. I hope, like, I'm sure there were partners who thought it would last forever, but I think a lot of partners realistically thought, okay, I don't know if this is sustainable or not.
But surely
I don't think
the
problem.
But we're going to enjoy it while it lasts. Yeah, it's an incentive. It's an incentive. Yep. It's a bonus. It said cash bonus on it the whole time. It was labeled as a bonus,
But surely a lot of partners would have seen that as an opportunity to get real big cash quickly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, I'm sure, but the ditch they fell into with that is they relied on it too much, and then when they became too much of I can rely on this, it became too much as they didn't think of it as this could potentially go away. They just were like, I can live off this. This is great. I can just do this and switch to full time. There was a lot of people that were
that went
quote unquote part time that
so
weren't full time content creators. That were like, I can just quit my job. I'll do this. This is great. This works. And then
a few months after that,
Yeah, and then the August when they got taken away, it was like.
Yep.
And then they got really mad at the platform taken away, but it was never, like you guys said, it was an incentive. It was out there as this is extra. You should be responsible enough to know that was extra and not make it something reliable. And some people didn't, unfortunately.
Yeah. To me, that is very much the same as buying followers. You get an initial growth, but then in the long run, you suffer like a decrease. It goes like a one spike, and then the analytics page goes like, whoo.
Yeah. I think it is worth mentioning though that the spark farming culture did have a not so great impact on Mixer. I don't think that Sparks inherently had a negative impact, but I think the 24/7 farming culture did create some of those channels, and that is an unintended consequence of what happens when people see partners like pushing 24/7 farming. They're like, hey guys, go farm your Sparks, go do this, go farm here, go farm there. And they listen to the partners that are telling them to go farm these things. And eventually there are people who are going to take that in a good way and do it to help their partners. But there are also people that are going to take it and use it for other gains. And that's why we saw the emergence of follow for follow 24/7 streams.
And why like that also could have been problematic at the time, like when they introduced these Spark incentives and like the Spark farming started to be a thing, like the growth probably looked good back then, and then looking back in retrospect now, but like think about it, how many people did take advantage of that, make new accounts, use those accounts to like So you have one person owning like 2 or 3 accounts. So like that is kind of boosting the numbers. Then for this to go away, and then they stop having a reason to use those accounts to sit in people's channels and lurk, even if they're not being like active. So I kind of get now, because there's a lot of people saying, well, you can't really factor in the farming, like the farming channels. But I would say that you can when you compare it from then to now, like numbers wise too.
Because the numbers did boost. Channel 1 used to have 6,000 people actively chatting in it.
Yeah.
Channel 1 used to have, and it may not have been 6,000 people actively chatting, but there were 6,000 people watching Channel 1 farming their sparks. There were people talking in there 24/7. Now you get a Channel 1 host and it's dead silent. Like there's like you can say hi to Channel 1, but generally speaking, even if I say hi and I'm like, how are you guys doing? It's very much a non-engaged host now. Channel 1 has gone from being this engaged way to meet new partners, and that's what I've always encouraged people to do with it. Like, is go check out Channel 1. You might find a partner you never knew existed. I've met regulars through Channel 1, but I think it is interesting to point out that Channel 1 has changed significantly from the launch of Season 2 to what it is now.
And when it comes to empty numbers, I would like to touch on that, because in the past few months, we've all noticed numbers raising, but not engagement raising. And I believe that's something that you, Kabby, mentioned on your Twitter as well. I find it quite interesting. I've been looking into it myself, and there's a very big discrepancies between view count on people's streams and actual people in the view list, which I would like to state at first as well that a lurker on Mixer is not like a lurker on Twitch. Like on Mixer, even if you have the stream paused or even if you have the stream muted, you still count as a view. I would like to preface with that and see what your thoughts are on these inflated numbers. Do you think that it's an embed somewhere on the Microsoft website? It's Xbox people, which it's a big discrepancy. We're talking about hundreds of people not appearing on view list.
And it makes me wonder if it's also just Mixer's API. Like, it could be any number of things. Like, I think we just don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question about that. I don't really know how hosting and auto hosting and like whether that they show up in your viewer list or not. Like auto hosting is a big thing right now. Okay, I was wondering, like, the numbers do carry over when you auto host or when you host somebody. It does help a lot with the view count, you know, especially depending on who hosts you. So, but does that always translate to those viewers actually showing up in your personal viewer like channel list?
No, it usually doesn't.
It usually doesn't.
It usually doesn't.
For my own personal experience,
I see it sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
It's
I see it sometimes too.
It's
I've seen it sometimes. But like, I've also seen the bad of it too. I had a friend who used to host me, and then he eventually moved to Twitch. But I realized that his auto host came with 40 lurkers. And those 40 lurkers weren't talking. And I noticed that was, it may have been helping my channel, like viewership, like numbers wise, but it wasn't helping the engagement. And I thought my numbers, I didn't realize, because I have auto host messages turned off. And I didn't realize for months that wasn't actually people watching me, that was people from his host. And then obviously when he left Mixer, he stopped hosting because he's not on Mixer anymore. But the I noticed it immediately. I was like, dang.
Yeah.
Like, it just, it makes me wonder how that stuff's counting.
And as a streamer, it is so important for you to know what is the real engagement, what is the real number. These are statistics that help you grow and understand your audience and your like reach as a person. Because, you know, imagine that a brand comes to you and wants to make a brand deal, and they'll ask you, you know, what is your concurrent viewership and how many people do you think are going to buy this product that we're selling. You're going to give them a number, and if that number is unrealistic, and it's like, yeah, I have 600 viewers concurrent, but only one of them bought that chair that we're selling, that's a little bit like there's a big discrepancy there. And it makes you look unprofessional. It makes the whole platform look unprofessional. I'm saying that nobody benefits from this.
Yeah, I think if there was one thing I could change about Mixer, it would be the way that all of the statistics around the website are counted. I think that in general, the whole industry as a whole needs to have certain standards of what is counted as a view, how long, yes, the same standards, or at least, and I think that the people that are working with the influencers need to be aware of these standards as well, because without these, I mean, so just the same standards all around. If someone's not active in a window, if it's for 30 minutes, an hour, or if it's muted, or, you know, these things need, I want to be taken seriously. And I feel like if that was implemented, we would all have more respect as influencers.
Yeah. All right. Another.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I think Fefinator's right in that aspect. There's a lot of, there's no real clarification because there's the system is in so much of a work in progress and experimentation, like the different hosting tabs and whatnot between chat, and the integration between like Xbox versus like mobile versus on PC. So there's a lot of things that are not like really standardized yet, just because of, a couple weeks ago we've seen a lot of inflated hosts because of things that were being tested, and you're gonna expect a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, in general, I do agree that clarification being the key word to really making it accurate for streamers to understand who their community is, who's there, being able to physically check if they wanted to each and everybody on the view list, right, and it being accurate.
Yeah.
Yep. And further to further the core of this issue, why do you think they decided to make the investment into bringing people like Shroud and Ninja instead of bringing that investment to getting more engineers to make the platform a better place?
Established streamer communities. Established streamer communities are already exist. They make a bulk of the viewership, especially on Twitch and whatnot. If you look at like what streamers are doing on like Facebook, for example, Facebook's is an established social media platform.
Yeah.
Never was big on streaming, but they can pull in massive amounts of numbers. They can pull in massive amounts of views, actual views, because of their like carousel style video to live stream kind of mechanics there. And for people like Shroud and for people like Ninja, Microsoft knows how to do one thing, and that's they know that they have money. They know that they can that they need visibility of the platform, so they definitely need heavy hitters to assist with that.
Yep. Would you say, I have no statistics on this and I wish I did, but would you say that a lot of the communities that came with Ninja and Shroud have explored Mixer further as a platform and can now be found as regulars on other people's streams?
I think it's a great example of core viewership. They don't feel the numbers they do, for example, on Twitch, but the averages you see with them is a very, very dedicated and core viewership. Yeah. Something that Mixer is really well known for is is its engagement comparatively to massive numbers. So in my opinion, that's something that's a big takeaway.
Yeah.
So I have a question for Kabby, just in general. So when Ninja came over to Mixer, it was August 1st, 2018 or 2019. Sorry. The first thing, this is a hypothetical. The first thing that people saw when Ninja came over, because we were still in the midst of the follow for follow 24/7 thing, was that people's first impression when they came over to Mixer in that August was Ninja and a bunch of follow for follow channels on the front page. Do you think if Mixer had taken action against those follow for follow channels months earlier, and those weren't there when Ninja came over, that Ninja's move would have been arguably more productive or more worthwhile, because it would have changed people's first impressions of the platform, and we can't get those first impressions back?
100%.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I definitely think so. And it doesn't like I don't think Mixer was ready for it, to be perfectly honest.
That's what I think too. And I was wondering how other people thought.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the biggest things that people complain about is it's just a myriad of issues that's already existed in the first place that further reinforces the fact that Mixer wasn't ready. Stability, stability, viewership stability, quality of
Video
life
stability,
just isn't there. It's
monetization.
still and it's still not there. It's such a heavy work in progress that all you could do is try to work through it, right? You put your faith into the platform, you put your faith into your community, your channel, you build up a brand, and then this is the tools that you have, and it's tough to work through that. When Shroud and Ninja came over, it definitely didn't help. The inconsistencies post their move definitely has not helped with retention. So yeah, that 100% plays into account.